What is going on, guys? Welcome back to this R31 build where we are getting just so close to hitting the key and starting this thing up now. So hopefully this episode we'll get there, we'll get this thing started, see how it sounds. Still got a little bit to do, but got all day, so get stuck in and get it done. So at the moment the car is an absolute mess. You would have just seen last episode was me finishing installing that Defi Advanced ZD copy. So this corner is a big old mess. I've got to go get a actual 20 amp fuse for this setup, but the battery's in. I've still got the entire under the car loom to put in. As you saw the episode before last, I could not find a plug to suit that my RB25 alternator. However, I do have a heap of old wiring that I just grabbed off a mate that he pulled out of his Land Cruiser a while ago, and it does have some plugs that have some pins that are big enough that I reckon would fit on the spades in the so it won't be a plug, but I reckon these pins are big enough to fit on the spade, or these spades are big enough to fit on the pins in the alternator. So hopefully that means I can at least get it going, get it charging, so that it'll be charging while I wait for my new alternator plug to arrive. So at the moment all I'm going to do is really have a big tidy up. As I said to you guys a few episodes ago, as far as this, there's not enough length in the loom for me to really tuck it up. So I'm going to just drill holes and just try and get it up as high as I can. That's got to get put up there as well, tidy that up. Yeah, I'm going to tidy all this up. I'll chuck the wheels on. I've still got the last bit of wiring that I should have to do is just my fuel pump, which I started last night, but it actually got too dark and my torch went flat, so didn't finish it. So that's pretty much the last bit of wiring that I need to do on the car. So apart from that, it's just going to be a tidy up. I've got to tidy up in on the floor there, like all my wiring up there, put the interior mostly back together, and then I'll chuck it down on its wheels. We'll put it over on the hoist. Once it's on the hoist, I'll start sorting out the under the car wiring, the gearbox loom and that can all go in so it's out of the way. And I'll put another engine earth on it. Once I've got another engine earth on it, and on the right fuse, I'll connect everything up. Hit the key, try and read the ECU, make sure the ECU is doing everything it should be doing. And once I'm happy enough with the ECU, it'll be time to put fluids in it and hit the key, and hopefully she starts up. So it's going to be a big day. Try and get it done. Righto, so the place looks a little bit better after a cleanup. Yeah, just had a big cleanup. This is what I've done with this loom. As you can see, I've just drilled and zip tied it to keep it nice and high. So I'm really hoping that when I put it back on a wheel, it's going to be far away from that. I'm really hoping this wheel doesn't eat this loom, because that's going to be extremely annoying. But I'll find out when I drop it back on its wheels, I suppose. I've done the same on the other side, although the other side is literally just an indicator wire, so it doesn't really matter all that much. I put pretty much all the driver's side interior back together. It's really nice when you can start putting things back together for hopefully the last time. So as you can see, all that wiring's gone, all that mess is gone, everything's back together, looks great. So still got that side to sort out, but that's going to be after I finish that loom up and actually mount the ECU where it's going. So next thing I was looking at was just this fuel pump. So this green wire here is my new fuel pump wire from my relay, and this is the plug that comes off the hanger. So I want to keep the rest of this plug intact because I want my factory fuel sender and like my fuel level sender and everything to work. So I want to keep the rest of this plug intact. These two, what I'm assuming is if you look down into that plug, these two are singled out. Makes sense that these would be power and earth for the fuel pump. So they go into like a cable where one's in the sheath and one's in the center. I'm going to go ahead and assume the one in the center is the active. So I'm going to use some spades and just make a little plug for my fuel pump wire to plug into that, and then I'll heat shrink over the top of it. And then I'm assuming that the one that forms part of the sheath must be the earth, because that just makes sense to me. So I'm going to make an earth out of that one and just run it back down and just earth it to one of these bolts. Obviously when I earth these, I sort of just sand up underneath them, so it's a really nice good contact for the earth. So I figure that should get my fuel pump sorted. Next, the other thing I'll do, this is a BM44 S13 master. I just got to grab the check valve out of it, because if you have a look, I'm not sure if the Bintara check valves are very good as are because they never came turboed. I'm assuming the S13 ones are probably better. They've also got this other little vacuum dick off them which I don't need to use and I don't want. So basically going to piss that check valve off, put the Sylvia one on it so it's just a straight through check valve, and then I just need to find a vac hose to go to the back of the manifold, fix that up. So that's somewhat what we're left with the fuel pump. That's where it's earthed nice and well. Sanded it up before I earthed it. And up there's where it's just crimped and spaded together with some heat shrink just sitting over it for now, until I'm definitely happy with it. So that's going to be until I'm definitely happy that it's all right, and then I'll heat shrink it up and wrap all that up properly. I've got the Sylvia check valve and the brake master, so that makes it easy. Now I just need a line from there to there and I'm set, and it's back rolling. As you can see, even at this height, it's sort of, there's a fair bit of room there. Hopefully it doesn't eat that loom. I'm really hoping it doesn't. So it's just going to be a matter of hope, I suppose, because there's not much I can do about it. Not much I'm going to do about it, but if it does get to the point where it is starting to eat that loom, I am going to have no choice but to pretty much cut it all out and extend it all so that I can actually run it and tuck it up along this edge here so it's nice and up and out of the way like I did on the Crusader. But anyway, we'll get there. We'll find out. At the moment I just want to get it drifting. So anyway, now I'm gonna move the Falcon and I'll move it over into the hoist and start looking at doing some fluids. I've still got to make a throttle cable bracket off the throttle body. Still got to do that, and I've also got to still mount the dump pipe because I at least want to put the dump pipe on it if I'm going to start it. So still a little bit to go. What an absolute mission that is. I hope everyone really appreciates how low this car is, because I've got to say, having it this low is a massive pain in the ass. So got to obviously move ramps, all that sort of stuff. What a pain. Anyway, I thought if I'm going to start it, I need to get at least the dump on, and I'm going to paint up the dump with some high heat black ceramic, mostly just to seal the weld so it doesn't rust. Secondly, to try and hide it because my welds are pretty disgusting. But anyway, I thought I better get some paint on it in the sun sort of soon, so that it can start to set and dry while I do the other things I need to do to the car. Righto guys, so I just went into town, grabbed 20 litres of fuel, ready to chuck in it. This dump pipe's come up pretty good with this black paint, pretty happy with it. It's gone like a real matte ceramic, matte black. So I'm pretty stoked with how that looks. Pretty nice to cover up all those not so nice welds. But you get that when you're not a very good fab worker, I suppose. Anyway, as long as it works, I'll be happy. And also to do these earths, I did go down and find, from back when I was in the comms game, I have heaps of this 35mm green and gold earth wire around. So I was going to make some earths out of this, but then I had a thought, when I worked for Telstra, we used to do earths using the stainless braid. And so I sort of hit that up, see if we had any around, and we actually do have a lot of it. So this stuff's good. You just fold it over and crimp it in a lug like you would crimp that wire. But because it's got no sheath and it's braid, it deals with heat, it deals with just being punished a lot more. Just better for this kind of thing. So I've got pretty much all the gearbox loom and starter looms on and sorted and tight. I'm pretty sure I got the starter done alright. And all the gearbox looms in, I just need to sort of tie it up and tidy it up a little bit. Also found these pins, these spades. Freaking focus. Come on. Stupid camera. These little spades are actually the perfect for the alternator, where the alternator plug would go normally. So they actually fit on there perfect. So it means I can temporarily, hopefully, get the alternator hooked up properly. So it's all coming together. Just had a coffee and went for a run into town, so time to get stuck back into it. This braid, I'm going to put an earth off this wing on the engine. So I'm going to put a braid off this bolt, and there's an empty M8 thread there, which I'll earth that too. And then I'll also put an earth on the RB30 up there on the little lifting lug on the back of the head on the RB. You can see that. I'm also going to put an earth off that to the firewall so that the head's earthed properly. And that should be plenty of earths, that should be plenty enough earthing. I'd be a bit worried if that was not good enough earths for what we're doing here. So yeah, once that's done and we get this dump pipe on, we're getting pretty close. The other thing I do want to check is I want to check the timing, because when I put the Dizzy in, I'm pretty sure I put it in with the rotator cap with the idea that the Dizzy spins clockwise. So I put the rotator cap just before one as if it was going to spin clockwise. But when I was looking at the firing order of these things the other day to try and figure out what was going on with the injector plug on the factory ECU, I realized I'm pretty sure they actually spin anti-clockwise, which means that I potentially have it timed one cylinder out. So I need to double check that. So I had a thought. I think what I'm going to do is just work today on just getting everything ready. Hopefully get the ECU and stuff powered up at least and read it. Make sure there's no fuel leaks. All that stuff, get all the fluids in. Just focus on getting it all ready tonight, and then I'll have a night to sleep on it, and I'll try and start it in the morning. I'm not going to try and rush to try and get it started tonight, just because the potential for me to forget something and something to go wrong is a lot higher. I figure if I just have it in my head that I'm going to start it tomorrow, just spend today getting everything ready, triple, double, triple check everything, sleep on it for a night, make sure I don't remember anything through the night that I've forgotten, and then hit the key in the morning. So that's what I want to try and do. That's my plan at this point now. So what's today? Today's Saturday the 20th of July. So not doing too bad. It's like 2:30 in the afternoon at the moment. So I'll just spend the rest of the day just getting this thing absolutely dialed, everything sorted. And then, yeah, hit the key in the morning, hopefully. Hopefully. So there you go, guys, with the stainless braid. I just squish it, fold it over lengthways, and then just fold it back one, and that's perfect for a 35mm squared lug. And that just goes straight on there and crimps on like a boss. That's your bit of braid. So I've used some good P40 grit sandpaper to really clean up the earth areas, the surfaces, to make sure they're really nice earths. The other thing I do for these, where did I put it? For these main earths, put it down somewhere now, and I don't know where I put it. Hold up, wait a minute. This shed is the Bermuda Triangle, I swear. So this is copper electrode paste. This just helps you get a really good bond for your earth as well. So I usually just tuck that on too. So these two earths, plus the one that's already going to the chassis of the battery, that should be plenty of engine earths. So yeah, I just thought I'd show you that. And now I'm just going to crimp them all together and cut them up and put them all on. So you can see here, earth's all on. That's where it goes to. I've also just tied up all the gearbox loom and everything right up to the breather, so it's right up out of the way. So the other thing I would like to do while the car's off the ground on the hoist, I just need to double check, make sure there's no fluids in the gearbox. And I'll check the diff as well, and just check the diff fluids too. Make sure they're both, I'll make sure the diff is full, and I'll make sure the gearbox is empty, because I'll fill the gearbox from the shifter hole up the top. Alright, so a little bit of oil came out of the diff. It was pretty dark and gross, but the actual catch, or drain plug, is magnetic, and it was actually quite clean. So hopefully that means good things for this box. There wasn't much oil in there. So pretty much these boxes have a fill hole, which is here, which is where you're supposed to fill it from. That's a real prick to get to, so I like to just fill it from inside the car at the shifter hole. They're supposed to take 2.5 litres, but that's been very varied beyond, like, around people who have filled them up. Some people have put like over 4 litres or whatever in them. Anyway, I'm going to put about 2.5 litres in it and just let it settle and see. The diff was a little bit down. The oil that was in it wasn't too bad. Not so bad that I was going to go ahead and drain it. So I just topped it up. So it's all topped up now. It's all good. And I really did want to chuck on the dump pipe while I've got the car off the ground here. But I cannot find... I bought a heap of M8 bolts specifically for the dump, which I cannot find. So that's like 2 packets of high tensile bolts that have just gone walkabout. So I don't know, I have no idea where they are. They should be somewhere here, but they are not. So I'm just going to have to drop it down and start doing a few things from up above, and hopefully find those bolts fairly soon. I hope, because if they're gone, I'm going to be pissed off. So there we go, guys, that's the earth on the back of the head, which is just earth to the firewall there. You can see that paste has bulged out. I need to wipe that off, but that should be this engine very well earthed. Shouldn't need any more earth than that. At the moment I'm just going to fill the cooling system up with water. I always tend to use water just for the first few start cycles. This is just because often you need to, for whatever reasons, or often for most reasons, you'll end up having to drop the coolant again anyway. Usually there's some sort of reason you've got to drop the coolant. Secondly is that I feel like it's good just to give it that initial flush with water, and then usually after a couple of starts, make sure everything's good, then I'll dump the water out of it and fill it up with coolant. That's usually how I tend to do things as well. So I'm going to fill that up with water. I'm also going to fill up the engine with oil. As far as engine oil goes, we're a big fan of Penrite. We usually run Penrite HPR gas. I was at Repco the other day, and they have this Penrite 10/10 running in oil. I figure, well, that fits the bill. Running in an engine can't hurt, so I'm going to use that just because it sort of makes sense. And after I fill that up with oil, I am also going to fill the gearbox up with oil. So for gearbox, I got this Newlon smooth shift, so I'm going to run that in the gearbox. Hopefully that might help it live a little bit longer. And I've got 2.5 litres of this Pro Gear Penrite again, so I'll chuck that in the gearbox in the shifter hole, and I'll let that settle for quite a while before I actually check the fill hole. I think that's why it varies so much how much people can actually get in these boxes. I think most people get about 2.5 litres in the fill hole before it starts to come out. But I think a lot of people fill it from the shifter hole and end up getting way more oil in there, because I think it takes a long time for it to actually settle in the box. Because from that shifter hole, there's actually not a whole lot of passages for it to get all the way to the front of the box. So I think it just takes a while for it to settle. So I'll just put the 2.5 litres in with the smooth shift for now in the top, and just give it ages to settle before I open up that side and just see how it is. Pretty sure I got a little bit more of that gearbox oil up on the shelf anyway for if I need a bit more, but I'll let you know anyway. The other thing is, when I'm first filling a car like this after a build, always very careful to use funnels and try not to spill any oil. It is very hard to diagnose like an oil leak if you've gone and spilt oil all over the place while you were filling it. Same with water, so that's why I tend to really use funnels. Be careful not to spill anything, try not to overfill anything. Sort of try and keep everything pretty much good so that you can definitely tell if there's an oil leak or something's going wrong. Alright, so straight up bad news. There's a lot of water leaks. So I've got gearbox oil, engine oil in, and water in. There's a fair few water leaks. A lot of them are from, if you can see, probably can't see on the camera, but down where the heater hoses and stuff are, on the back and on the front, there's like a little bypass passage which I've just blocked off with and just put some bolts, so you can see on that one. There's a bolt just in the end of it there. So they're sort of leaking a bit. There's a bit of a leak coming from where I've put the probe, just in the top radiator hose there, which is a bit of a pain. But there is also a weep from the water pump, that top bolt for the timing cover there. There's a little bit of a weep. Oh, it's quite a severe leak, to be honest, out of the water pump, which is a real prick. So I suppose the good thing about having an engine that you're really not that invested in, such as this one, is I'm certainly not past just buying this, like a bottle of that CLE stop leak and just running that through it and hoping it shuts up all the leaks. So before it gets too late, I'm going to head out into the servo and grab a bottle of that. Alright, so scratch that idea. I decided not to go into town and get that stuff, because pretty much the way it works, your car needs to be running. So you need to get it hot. That's how it activates, how it stops leaks. I figure at this point, I'm not even planning on starting the car tomorrow, let alone figuring out how far it's going to be before I can actually start it and leave it running to actually get hot, because who knows what issues I'm going to run into. So figure by then, tomorrow I'm going to be in and out anyway, so I may as well just get it on the way. There's not much point in me rushing off to get it now. So not going to worry about it for now. It's going to let it leak. It's not that bad. It's pretty bad, but it's not bad enough that's going to stop me doing what I want to do. So now I'm going to get some fuel into this thing. I bought some fuel system clean, which I'm going to run through it to start with, just because they're secondhand injectors and they were never sonically clean or anything like that. So I'm going to chuck in some complete fuel system clean and some fuel, and then I've chucked in some brake fluid into the clutch and brake reservoir, and just to let them gravity feed a little bit. Yeah, and then I'll get this fuel in, and then I've still got to do a little bit under the car, and I've still got to make a throttle bracket. So yeah, still on track, but we'll get there. So this is what I'm using, just petrol, total system clean from Penrite. Hopefully it just cleans out everything, all the injectors and stuff for first sort of couple of litres, and after that it should be right. Also I found my M8 high tensile bolts for the dump pipe, so I can actually put the dump pipe on too. So I got my handbrake cable in under the car, so now I've got a handbrake again. Also put on my dump pipe. So that turned out pretty good. Looks pretty good in there. I've only put the 4 bolts in at the moment because of the way I made the dump, but what I plan on doing, I'm not that worried because it's going to be a very free-flowing exhaust. It shouldn't have much back pressure at all, so it shouldn't really pressurize that much. And it's a 12 mil thick flange, so it's a massive flange. And yeah, my reasoning is that 4 bolts is good for 4 bolt flanges, so should be enough for this, to be honest. But what I plan on doing is putting just M8 threaded rod in the top middle hole. I can't get a bolt head in there because I welded it too close to the hole. But I've put like a really long stud on. I bought some of this from Bunnings. This is just aluminium tubing, which sort of just fits over an 8mm bolt with a little bit of persuasion. So I figured I can make like a big long spacer and have a big long stud with a nut right sort of at the back here. It'll look ugly, but it'll be effective. Something about doing that. But either way, the 4 bolts on it for now are going to be fine. So dump's installed. Everything's pretty much ready. I've hooked everything up. I put my new fuse in the mini inline, and I've connected my computer to the Microtech, which is powered up. However, I keep getting this issue when I try and connect to the Microtech. It connects and then disconnects straight away. So it'll connect to it and then it's gone. So I can't understand why it does that. I'm just gonna have to have a look. I'm not sure. I'm hoping it's not something silly like you actually have to have the car running for it to properly connect. Like maybe it needs a cam angle sensor reading for it to stay active. So I hope not. That would be dumb. Surely that's not what it is. I can't figure out what this is. So either way, the ECU is not cooking. Nothing's fried. Everything's working fine. So given that I'm happy enough with the wiring that it's not going to do any damage to the ECU, what I'll do is I'll get my old MT8, which is now Rex's. I'm going to plug it in, see if I can connect to that, and I suppose that will give me an idea of whether it's an issue with all this or whether it's just an issue with the ECU. But it just seems strange that it's letting me connect and then disconnecting me straight away. So quickly running out of motivation. It's been a big couple of days to get here, and yeah, I'm just knackered. Alrighty, so second ECU, which is the MT8, which is actually the ECU that used to power this car, which still has all my old maps on it, does the exact same thing where it will connect and then just straight away disconnect. Cannot figure out why. Obviously out here I don't have any internet or enough phone service to try and fault find online, so that's just gonna have to be tomorrow when I go back and get into civilization, that I can sort of try and look up and see if anyone else has had this issue or why it's happening. So the other thing is no fuel pressure, no fuel pump. I have just checked with the test light. I've traced everything. The relay is working as it should. The wiring's okay. It is getting power all the way back to here. So it has got to be either between where I've put my splice to the hanger, or it's got to be my wiring in the hanger, or it's just a dead pump. So that's another thing I'm gonna have to sort out another time. Try and get this sorted. Anyway, so a few things to sort out. I've had enough for tonight. It was lofty to try and get it started. Again, if all of this went right, could have, potentially, but not going to. And yeah, I'm just gonna have to try and sort this out later on. So still got a bit I've got to do in the morning. Still got to do that throttle cable. Still got to wire up the alternator. So still a bit to go on with, a few little things to do. But yeah, I'm gonna have to try and fault find that pump tomorrow and sort that out. But yeah, certainly not happened tonight. I'm over it. I've put in a pretty big couple of days to get it to this point, and it is close. Just gonna have to try and sort out these teething issues of trying to get it running. So if I have to, I might have to buy a pump. That pump was just a second-hand Walbro 255 that I pulled out of a Sylvia that I parted out. So never actually bench tested the pump. Should have done that. Didn't. So not sure. I'll have to pull that hanger out and just have a look. Anyway, I'll do that tomorrow, which is going to be in the next episode. So that's going to be all for tonight. Thanks for watching as always, guys. Hope you're enjoying this. I'm getting pretty excited to drive, so I hope it doesn't give me too many more issues. So anyway, we'll just have to see how we go. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you on the next one, guys.